So today we're going to talk about In a Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound. And Ezra Pound wrote in the early 20th century, and he was a member of what was called the Vorticists. So they were the people that were writing about how the rebellion against the Victorian age and the things that had come before and all of the establishment and trying to break away from confines. So he wrote as a part of a movement called Imagism, and they thought that if they could just create one precise image using as few words as possible, that they would have accomplished their purpose. So they're seeking clarity of expression through the use of precise images. So you may think that this poem is pretty short because it's only 2 lines, and he's actually following along the lines of the Japanese haiku when he's using a short little bit of poetry here, just a few words. But let's see how we break that down. So first of all, when you have even a little short poem, you want to look at the title. The titles are important. And here the title provides us with the setting and the topic of the poem. So in a station of the metro. So metro being like a train station. And so waiting for a train. And think about what a station of the metro looks like. You may have watched some older movies. I've been actually in a metro in Washington, D.C., and so I think of it as very dark, underground feeling, like a cave underground, very black. Um, just a few lights, people running here and there, pretty crowded, busy, and the train and loud, noising. So then look at the 2 lines. We have 2 separate images, the apparitions of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. So here we're talking about the faces, and then we're also talking about petals. And so these 2 images are juxtaposed. Well, remember when you listened to The Hitchhiker, where he had the drops of rain on his shoulder, even though it was dry and hot, sunny day. That was a juxtaposition, putting 2 things together for an effect. So here he's overlapped or juxtaposed these 2 contrasting lines and help us understand something more about this point that he's making. So he's putting faces, and there we have a little picture of faces at the train station, people running here and there in a big crowd, and then petals. And there we see the image, and I use like cherry blossoms falling on a black bough. It's interesting that he says apparitions of the faces, and that he says petals on a black wet bough. It's not leaves, it's petals, something lovely and beautiful and yet transient. And then he merges those 2 images together so that the faces and the petals become like one thing. So we can't think about the petals without thinking about the faces. And so I want you to look at some specific words that he chooses to use. The word apparition means ghosts. So he's saying, look at the ghosts of the faces. So when people are in a busy train station, and if you put them in slow motion, you probably would see the ghost of their image as they run away, the ghost remaining just a few seconds after their body, following after them. And then think about when people are here in life and then gone next. Their ghost remains, their memory remains. Same thing with petals. They're here today. There's a black, wet bough. Black and wet means there's been some rain and some turbulence, and so petals are delicate. They could easily flitter away and go to the ground and be no more on the bough. So we have a metaphor here. He's juxtaposing these so we can compare them. The apparitions of the faces, he's saying, are petals on a wet black bough. He's comparing them. So the faces are like the petals, and the crowd in the station is like the wet black bough. Remember I said how it's dark, and if it was raining, then it could be very damp in the station. So think about a wet, dark station being like a wet black bough, and people's faces being like petals, there and gone by the turbulence. So we can see the theme of transience. Pound captures a moment in motion. The faces are moving and about to leave. drop away from the crowd, just like the petals after the rain are about to drop off the black bough. Transience means time here and then gone, moving along. It's not here forever, it's going. It's very limited in time. So we see, again, the petals are the beautiful part of the bough, but they are only here for a moment. We need to appreciate the petals while they are here and appreciate that they may not be there when we look again. So we appreciate the things of beauty even though they're not always going to be here with us. Same thing with people. We need to appreciate the faces around us each day, to be kind and considerate of one another, and avoid forgetting that the crowd is full of individuals getting ready to depart, so be kind while they are here with us. We really do not know how much each of us impacts one another. We start thinking about the crowd at Walmart or HEB or whatever as just a thing to be ignored. Instead, let's think about how our actions impact those around us each day, and what would happen if we frown and are grouchy one day, and that could impact somebody else later on. And then think about it, if we're smiling, we just meet them for the brief moment in time, but we smiled at that person. Well, maybe that will make that person have a much better day later on. So we interact with these faces that are here and gone in a moment.